Okay, and I think you can see that I have the syllabus up on the screen. Today we are going to finish the module G, which we're talking about variable sampling. Really, more specifically, we should be saying using sampling for substantive testing. And we're going to talk not so much about variable sampling as we are a sampling method called dollar unit sampling or probability proportionate to size. Those are synonymous terms. So we'll finish our discussion of sampling, talking about how we'll use sampling for our substantive testing. We'll get into chapter 7. Chapter 8, or module H, I should say, Auditing and Information Technology. We kind of covered that back in chapter 3, so I'm going to review those slides again from chapter 3 just so you can kind of see where we sort of have talked about that already. And then we've got chapter 8 and 8C that was scheduled for today. I'm not going to grind you through 4 chapters, don't worry, okay? So we won't do that today. I'm thinking what we're going to do is next time we will do chapter 8, 8C, and then I'm going to take a look at that production cycle and see if that's not something that we can streamline and then do that after the second midterm and push that towards the final. Okay, so the second midterm will cover chapter 7 to 9, modules E, F, G, and H, with the idea that we really kind of already covered module H with some of the stuff we saw in chapter 3. Okay, any questions?
Are we going to do chapter 6 too? Because I know we covered that after.
We didn't do chapter 6?
Not on the midterm.
Oh, I'm sorry, yes, thank you, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we've covered it, we talked about it in chapter 6. Huh?
The materiality.
Oh yeah, and materiality from chapter
3.
3 at the end of chapter 3. Thank you. So materiality end of chapter 3. I'll put something up for just since we're on that. Materiality chapter 3. Thank you. Chapter 6, as we did last time. 7, 8, 9, 8, not. Chapter 7 and 8, not 9. Modules E, F, G, and H. And I don't know why there's dot after H. Okay, but we'll talk about it next time. Okay, as we were leaving last time, I think some of you heard me talking to a few folks about the Ascend group, which is an Asian-based business group. They really, though, have their foundation a little bit more in accounting and finance than business in general. A very large network, okay, and I reached out to a few folks and just some discussions about that, and they put themselves forward as potential leaders of the group. But I'd like to also get a sense to the rest of the class if you're interested in that group, and it allows you to network with different people from the firms, that sort of thing. You do not have to be Asian to be involved in the group, okay, even though it is an Asian-based group started by Asian people. It doesn't mean that you have to be Asian to be involved in that group. So if you think it's something you would want to do me a favor if you can during the break or this evening, tonight, if this were ready the evening, tonight, send me an email expressing your interest, because I'm going to meet with an individual who is in charge of helping us get clubs and chapters started at the different campuses tomorrow. And I'd like to give him a little bit of information in terms of, at least in my class, what the level of interest is. Okay? So if you are interested in maybe being involved in that group, give me if you haven't already, I know it's something you've already talked to me, but if you haven't already expressed an interest, send me an email with right now. And the name of the group is Ascend. You put it up on the board here. ASCEN. Okay? So if you're interested in something like that, send me an email. No, don't feel obligated or anything like that, but if you're just interested, you can let me know. Okay? Question? Got any of that? Okay, good. So let's go ahead then and let's jump ourselves to the module G slides. Okay, good. Okay, and as I said here, when we're looking at the syllabus, we're now going to turn our attention to the use of sampling for our substantive testing. So let's review what we did. We talked about some general things about the audit standards, etc. And we talked about making assessments of risk, right? We talked about making the assessment of the risk and insurance statement and how we would use sampling for our control testing, right? And we talked about the risk of, sometimes we call it the risk of over-reliance, the risk of assessing control risk too low. We talked things about tolerable deviation rate, upper deviation rate, etc., and determining whether or not we had supported our lower assessed level control risk and control testing and using sampling for that. Then we do what? Based on that assessment of the risk and insurance statement, we then determine the detection risk that we can accept. And we lower our detection risk by determining the nature, extent, and timing of our substantial procedure. So what we're going to get to now in this chapter is the extent. So we're really dealing with the extent factor. How much substantive testing would we do in order to support whatever the financial statement assertions are in the financial statement being tested by our audit procedure. So if we're going to confirm accounts receivable and our client has 10,000 accounts receivable, obviously we can't send a confirmation to every single one of our client's customers. So we're going to want to send a confirmation to a sample of our client's customers. But how many should be what should be the size of that sample in order for us to believe that we have something that's representative of the population, so we can use that information to become the account balance of the state. Okay? So that's where we're going now, looking at substantive testing. And we're going to have our desired confidence level. And remember, we said that our confidence level could be what? Could be 95%. That means that we're willing to accept a 5% risk that we have formed the incorrect conclusion about an account balance, or determined the account balance is not materially stated when in fact it is. We want our confidence level to be high. We want our risk of what? Incorrect acceptance to be fairly low. So a 95% confidence level translates into a 5% risk of incorrect, and then we talk about incorrect acceptance versus incorrect rejection. We put all of our numbers around the risk of incorrect acceptance, since that would be audit failure, right? If you're incorrectly accepted as audit. Okay, so we'd have that. We'd have tolerable misstatement. How much misstatement will we be able to accept an account balance without determining its material mistake? And of course, that goes back to our concept of what? Materiality. And we talked about that at the end of chapter 3, if you remember again. So our materiality level is 10,000. Our tolerable misstatement for a particular procedure, remember we said would be what? Our overall mistake, financial materiality. Then we have a testing materiality or performance materiality, which would be less than our overall materiality, say 1/3 of our overall materiality. So our testing materiality might be, say, $3,000. That's how we would do the test to see if it was in excess of our tolerable statement. But what we're going to be doing here is taking sampling to project what that misstatement is and then comparing that to something called tolerable misstatement. Now, that is analogous or equivalent, I guess, to in our Control testing are deviation rates. Remember we said deviation rate is the maximum amount of deviation. We'll prescribe control. We do what we just said about determining that control does not have operating effectiveness. These things that I've written up here are basically what doing the analogy to our control testing that we talked about last time. Okay, so last time we talked about our estimated deviation rate. Here it's estimated misstatement. What do we think the misstatement is going to be? Okay? Unlike we stated for our control testing, where we said population really does not affect sample size, for our substantive testing, yes. And you can imagine, the larger the dollar balance, the more we're going to want to make sure that we have sufficient dollar amounts represented in our sample in order to make sure that we have a sufficient dollar coverage. That's why we talked last time really about the concept of stratification, where you will go ahead and try to do what? Select larger dollar balances, and you would go ahead and send out, say, confirmation of those large dollar balances. I think was the example that we gave, so that you can do what? Have a smaller sample size. Maybe you only sample 5% of the population, but because you pick off those big dollar ones, you end up doing what? Maybe auditing 30, 40% of the dollar value. So here, we call it population, but really the dollar amounts will play a bigger role in our, how we determine how we're going to do the sampling. Okay? And then misstatements, when we find them, if they are material, that will equal adjustments. If we have a material misstatement, we will have to make an adjustment to the financial statements in order to bring those misstatements down below our tolerable mistake. We'll talk a little bit more about that. Okay, so just some key terms here, and sort of comparing them to what we said about control testing. Any questions? Okay, good. So let's go ahead and let's take a look at how we would do projection. And this is basically doing a very simple example of projection. We have a book value of, say, inventory. We have the book value of the item sample, say 100,000 is what they're recorded at in the books. We do an audit of those, and we find that the audited value is 98,000. So since we're providing a procedure to that, we looked at some supporting invoice or cost information sort of associated with those inventory items, whatever. Or maybe there were some inventory items that they said they had, but when we went and looked for those items, we couldn't find them, whatever. So we said the book value, correct book value is 98, right? The audited book value is 98. That's a what? That's a $2,000 overstatement in this particular case. I guess it's the items that we look for that weren't there, right? So we gave a figure specifying some items that they said they had that maybe they didn't have anymore in the inventory, whatever. So we have a $2,000 overstatement. So what happens? We take the $2,000 divided by the $100,000 of the book value, and we determine that in our sample we have a 2% misstatement, 2% overstatement of the account balance. Now, we take that and we apply that to the $3 million total balance of the entire inventory, and we're thinking that we have a misstatement there for, and we estimate misstatement at 60,000, right? 3 million times 2%. We are projecting misstatement of 60,000. Now what happens? If our tolerable misstatement was 50,000, then we would have a material misstatement in these financial statements. That tolerable misstatement would have been based on materiality. We would have taken our overall financial statement materiality, came up with an amount for our performance materiality that would be less than our overall financial statement materiality, and we would determine that there was a material misstatement in that particular line item, assertion, etc., because we projected what? 60,000 when our tolerable misstatement was what? Only 50,000, and we would expect there to be an adjustment to the financial statement. Okay? Now, the problem with this sort of approach is it does not consider what? Sampling risk. Okay? So we would want to put a precision on this that would help us to avoid undetected mistakes. Okay? So let's say our tolerable misstatement was, I don't know, 70,000. We still may determine that what? If there's a material misstatement because of that sampling risk plus or minus. Okay? Now, what we're going to do is we're going to deal with sampling risk, etc., by using this method that we're going to call dollar unit sampling and not get merely into what we can call classical variable sampling, where we would be calculating a standard deviation, plus or minus, seeing how that standard deviation then gives us a range, and seeing if we're in or outside of that range. We're not going to do all that for this particular chapter or this particular discussion of sampling. We're going to deal with something called dollar unit sampling. And I'm doing that because dollar unit sampling tends to be what most common entities would use these days for the classical variables. Okay? But again, just getting us the idea of what projected misstatement versus what tolerable misstatement. And obviously, if our projected misstatement is going to be a tolerable misstatement, we would expect to get adjusted statements for that. Okay, now monetary unit sampling. And monetary unit sampling is a highly efficient, objective method of sampling in which we're going to basically come up with a sampling interval, and we're going to select all items that fall within our sampling interval. Okay? The beauty of dollar unit sampling, the major advantage, is it's going to allow us to automatically stratify the sample. So what's nice about dollar unit sampling is it allows us to select the sample in such a way so the larger dollar items have a higher percentage chance of being selected for sampling. So we will get a nice efficient sample which we're going to be auditing a higher dollar amount without having to look at as many items. And this is the reason that a lot of companies now audit organizations like to use dollar unit sampling. It's a very efficient way of sampling. Okay? So let me describe what's going on with dollar unit sampling. So let's say everybody in the class here represents one of my client's customers. And let's say my client has an accounts receivable balance of $500,000. And I want to see if that account balance is fairly statement. And I don't want to send a confirmation out to every single person in the class, so I'm going to use dollar unit sampling to select the sample. Now let's say that I determine that my sampling interval is every $5,000. So what I'm going to do is go through and picture that there's $500,000 until we realize that those $500,000 represent money that you owe to my customer, to my client, right? You're my client's customer, you owe that money to the client, $500,000, and I want to select every $5,000. So I come over to Michael, and Michael, let's say you have $2,000 that represents money that you owe my customer. So you got $500 that you owe to my customer. Do you have my $5,000? No, because you only got $500 sitting for you. There's no way you can have my $5,000, right? So I come over to Steven. Steven, let's say you have $2,000 sitting in front of you. Do you have my $5,000? So far, I've gone through what? $1,000. I've dealt with $2,000. That's $3,000. I still haven't found my $5,000, right? Now I come over to the next customer. Denny, let's say you have $4,000 sitting in front of you. Do you have my $5,000? Yes, you do. Because Michael had 1,000, Stephen had 2,000. Everyone has to know that. 3 plus 4, that's now $7,000. Somewhere in the middle of your stack, we found our $5,000, right? So I'll send a confirmation out to Debbie, not because I'm trying to test the whole account balance. I'm really just testing that first interval of $5,000, right? So it's definitely sending confirmation, right? Okay. Now I'm looking for my $10,000. My sampling interval is every 5,000, right? So I come to, and you have $2,000 sitting in front of you. Do you have money? $10,000. Because we've gone through 9,000, right? 7 plus 2, 9,000, right? And two. Huh? Sandra? Sandra, let's say you have, $7,000 in your computer. Do you have my $10,000? Yes, you do. You have my 10,000 because what? You're up to 9 in your first 1,000, right? And then we would have been looking for our $15,000. You have that also, don't you? Because we're up to $16,000 now. Okay. Now I've engineered it a little bit here. And notice the 2 items that got selected for sampling were what? Were the big ones. The $4,000 one got picked. The $7,000 one got picked. And we knew you would be picked because you're bigger than the interval. So any item that's bigger than the interval automatically will get picked. But when I send the confirmation out to you, even though it's just one confirmation that I have to deal with, and I may have to chase you around and ask again and again, which is using up all the resources, but I'm getting to do what? I'm getting to test 2 of my sample items through this dollar unit sample. Okay? And the other beauty of dollar unit sampling is that if you use one of these integrated software packages, all I would do is ask my client for a file that contains all their account receivable, and I would use a Windows-based application to go through. I put my different, factors in there that I'm considering, and the thing would be what? It would calculate my sampling interval, it would go through the file and select every one. Now we're going to do it sort of on a spreadsheet because we're going to have these large, small dollar amounts. But imagine if we were sitting here and we were trying to audit public debt, and our sampling interval was every $5,000, and public debt was $20 trillion. We'd be there all day long if we tried to do it by hand and say, do you have my $15 trillion? Let's see, And so what happens? The audit software package would go through and just pick off the sampling interval. So we were literally able to use a dollar unit sample to audit public debt that we were going into still. Okay? Question? Okay? Yes, sir.
So dollar units have to look the same thing as monetary?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm calling it dollar unit sampling. Okay? Sometimes we call it monetary unit sampling. Sometimes they call it probability proportionate to size. So you'll see PPS. Your probability of being selected is proportionate to the size of the dollar amounts. And again, I kind of engineered it. You could have some small ones that do it, but that's okay. The chances are, though, that the bigger ones are going to do it because you're selecting dollar intervals, and the more dollars you have in front of you, the more likely it is that that dollar is in that stack that you have in front of you. So PPS, probability proportionate to size, MUS, GUS are also not. Okay, now, these are the advantages. Disadvantage, and the biggest one, is 0 amounts have no chance of being selected under that method. Because if you don't have any dollars in front of you, or at least not according to the account balance, how would you be selected? Also, negative amounts aren't going to be selected because we're looking for what? We're looking for that next dollar. Those are actually going to back off the dollars that we consider the negative ones, right? Yeah, you can design around these problems very easily. First of all, I'm here to tell you that if your client's customer has a negative account balance in their accounts receivable, that has to be audited. carve off all the negatives and figure out what the hell's going on. Because if there's a negative in there, and that's a true negative, that is not an account receivable, that's a liability, isn't it? That's money that we owe back to that particular client, back to that particular customer. We're gonna have to reclassify that as a liability, not an asset, right? You don't net off negative amounts. Those need to be what? Those need to be put as a liability. And if you have zero amount, what I would recommend is that you look at the nature of that zero. Okay, auditor judgment starts to come in. Is this a client's customer that has been zero for some time? If it has, maybe that doesn't concern me as much as a what? As a client that all of a sudden had account balances and then went to zero all of a sudden. Okay? This year. Maybe I'm not as worried about zeros because I'm worried about what? I'm worried about overstatement in the account receivable, not so much as I am understatement, right? So I might be able to accept some of those zeros. Okay, so I look at some of those zeros, I see what's going on, what's been the trend with some of those, or I can just simply pull a random sample of the zeros. There shouldn't be that many. And I can pull a random sample of those and send confirmation out to zeros. If there's hardly any zeros, send a confirmation out to all the zeros. So you can work your way around this. Okay. Question? Okay, good. So let's just go ahead and let's take a look at our steps here. Okay, determine the test objectives, which is defined if there's material misstatement. Define the population characteristics. What is the population? What is the sampling unit? Population would be all the accounts receivable. Sampling unit would be each individual customer's account receivable. Or what? In the case of the dollar unit sample, each dollar contained in our interval is that sampling unit. Okay, define a misstatement. Misstatement in this example for accounts receivable would be that we send out a confirmation to the client's customer, say, do you owe $25,000? And the customer's client comes back and the client's customer comes back and says, no, I paid $15,000 on that. When the balance is only $10,000, I don't know why they're saying $25,000. Whatever the client's customer objects, right? Okay, that would be a mistake. Okay, and then we're going to use our sampling methods to project what that misstatement is, and if it exceeds our tolerable misstatement, we'll be asking for an adjustment, right? Huh? Well, in this example that we just went through, we would send a confirmation to Jenny. We send confirmation to Jenny. We send a confirmation to Sanjana saying, do you owe $7,000? Do you owe $4,000? And we would hope, caveat, whoever else we do that, that they would come back and check yes. When I was in the second grade, I liked this person, and so I sent her a note that do you like me? I wanted to check yes, of course, right? And unfortunately, she checked no. Okay? So we don't want that. Okay? She checked no, and I had hair then. Okay? So anyway, what happened? You check no. We don't want her to check no. We want her to check yes. Okay? Or, and we'll talk about formal confirmation chapter we talked about revenue recognition. We could ask them to write the amount in, okay, but we're looking for some sort of confirmation that says they owe that. And those that come up in the sample we get. Okay, and if they say no, then we got to figure out what's the correct balance, how much is in the statement, okay, and then we'll use that information to project the total dollar statement. If it sees our tolerable misstatement, we'll be asking for an adjustment. Okay, now, question? Okay. Factors that affect sample size, confidence level, tolerable misstatement, expected misstatement, population size, and I don't know why the book ignored control risk. control risk is absolutely going to affect our sample size for the substantive test because what? The greater the control risk, the more we have to what? The more our risk and material misstatement, the more we need to lower our detection risk to keep our audit risk at a low level, right? So control risk is absolutely an important factor here in considering sample size for our substantive test. Okay, and you can see that what? Confidence level, the what? The more we want to lower our confidence level, the more we have to what? The more we have to increase our sample size, right? So if we want our, the higher we want our confidence level, the more we need to increase our sample size. So if we're at 90%, we can have a confidence level, we can have a smaller sample size, because we're saying we're taking on more risk than we'll incorrectly accept the financial statements. The more risk, the smaller the sample. Remember the apples? And after a while, you would say, okay, let's give me the apples, right? We're taking on more risk, right? Okay. If we are going to try to increase our confidence in the sample, we need larger samples, right? Okay. Tolerable misstatement is inverse. The more misstatement you're willing to take, you don't have to audit as hard to find that misstatement. So let's say I tell you that a $2 billion misstatement would not affect the judgment of a potential user of the financial statement, and the account balance is only $1 million. What sample size would you have to use for that? How much testing would you have to do? Don't bother. If you're willing to accept a $2 billion error and the account balance is only like this, $2 million or whatever, don't bother. There's no misstatement in there, material misstatement in there, right? If I tell you that a 2-cent error could affect someone, and now your what? Tolerable misstatement is 2 cents, and if there's $2 billion recorded that account balance, I suggest you withdraw from that engagement. Because the chances that you're going to find that little tiny error in that big, huge universe is much more difficult, right? Okay, so if you're trying to do what? You have a tolerable misstatement, and that tolerable misstatement is getting very small, larger sample size. Large tolerable misstatement, smaller sample size, inverse relationship. Okay? Expected misstatement is direct. If I have a client that is prone to errors and misstatements in their financial statements, whether caused by error or fraud, I better do what? I better audit the heck out of that to make sure I'm finding their sloppy work, right? If I have a client that's been pretty tight in previous years and they do a pretty nice job, I can what? So accept the smallest size. Okay? Population, again, the larger the population, the more we're going to expect a larger sample size, so we're getting a representative dollar amount. Although hopefully we're being smart in how we select that sample using stratification might help us make some efficiency like that. And then again, I wrote in that our control risk is what? Is inverse, or excuse me, direct. Our control risk is direct. A lot of control risk, bigger sample size. Less control risk, we can accept a little detection risk, smaller sample size. Okay? This is an important slide, guys. I will almost definitely ask you some questions around this. In fact, how different factors affect our sample size for you definitely get a multiple choice questions on how different factors affect sample size for control testing and substantive testing. And I can see this part running itself into one of our first simulation type questions. Give you the factor, and then I can ask you how it's going to affect sample size. Okay? Question? All right, good. So let's take a look at some example multiple choice question in this space here. A number of factors influence sample size for substantive tests of details on the account balance. all other factors being equal, which would lead to a larger sample size, greater reliance on analytical procedures. What happens? When we do our substantive testing, I'm going to write this on top or on the bottom? All right here in the middle. How about that? So let's say this is our substantive testing. This rectangle represents our substantive testing. Okay? And then, Michael, I'm going to do, not Michael, but Steve, I'm going to do this for you. Tell me what this reminds you of. Huh? Yeah, very good. Okay, there's your warriors. Okay, you got the blue and the gold up there. Okay. Now, what happens? The blue here is going to represent our test of details. Okay, test of details, classic example, e.g., is confirmation of accounts receivable. Okay, so when we're talking about confirmation of accounts receivable, that's a test of details. That's sending out confirmation to our clients and customers and saying, do you owe $25,000? That's a detailed test. Okay? Now, we do not have to fill up our entire substantive bucket of testing with tests like that, test of details. We could also use some analytical procedure. For example, we could compare the total amount of accounts to the account balance. And let's say the total amount of accounts receivable is going down, but the account balance and the account receivable is going up. What does that potentially indicate to you? We compare last year over this year. The number of accounts receivable is going down, but the account balance went up. What does that indicate to you, potentially? There could be an overstatement in the in the accounts receivable, right? So we would look and we would say, well, gee, how come basically the average dollar of accounts receivable has gone up? And we would start to inquire and try to get an explanation as to why that has occurred, right? Now, if we're satisfied with that explanation, and maybe we actually provide some documentation that supports that anomaly, that thing that fell outside our expectations, we're good. If not, we're going to do what? We're going to dig down deeper and look more into that particular account balance until we find the answer to that. I think that also gives an example of the procedure. Like a substantive test of the laundromat, the water bill versus how many gallons of water they use versus the washing machine revenue. That example as well. Okay, so when you look at this, the number of factors influence the sample size for substantive test of details. All other factors being equal, which would lead to a larger sample. Well, we're having greater reliance on an analytical procedure. Then our sample sizes for our test of details, like sending out confirmation, can actually be smaller, can't it? We're relying more on more of the gold here is analytical procedure, then our test of details is less part of this rectangle, less blue on here, so we would be able to do a smaller sample size for our test of details, right? Okay? smaller expected frequency of misstatements? No. The more misstatements, the bigger our sample size. We said that was a what? Inverse relationship, wasn't it? Okay. Greater reliance on internal controls. Well, what happens? If our control risk is low, then we can have what? Then we can have a what? Have a smaller sample size, right? So if we're having greater reliance on the internal controls, that's not going to lead to a larger sample size. That's going to give us a smaller sample size, isn't it? If we rely on the control risk, then our control risk is low, isn't it? Lower control risk, smaller sample size for our substantive testing. So obviously the answer is this last one. Smaller amount of tolerable misstatement. Yeah, 2 cent tolerable misstatement. Come up with an appropriate sample size in that situation. But what? Much larger sample size, right? Question? Considering each independently, a change in which of the following sampling planning factors would influence the sample size for substantive tests of details for a specific account, both the expected misstatement and the tolerable misstatement had what? An impact. And we've gone even further now. We know how these will affect sample size, right? Expected misstatement is going to be what? Going to be direct, more expected misstatement, larger sample sizes. Tolerable misstatement is going to be what? Indirect, right? Okay? Okay, good. How should increase in tolerable misstatement and assessed level of control risk affect sample size for a substantive test? Increase in tolerable misstatement does what? Decrease in sample size and willing to accept a $2 billion error and don't even pull a sample. Let me test that, right? And what? Increase in assessed level of control risk will do what? Increase my sample size because now I have to lower my detector risk to keep my audit risk low, right? Okay, good. So now we go ahead and we select the sample items, and we're going to select the MSU sample called, now it's called probability size, dollar unit. They can't seem to make up their mind and look in eyes for what to call it because these are all synonymous terms. Okay? And we will find out our sampling interval by dividing the book value of the population by the sample size. And sample size is going to be affected by those different items that we just talked about, right? We have a sample size, we divide that by the book value, that becomes a sampling interval, right? And we have $5,000. 1,000 divided by 10,000. We're giving us the 5,000. So, 500,000. I'm not good at numbers. 500,000, right? Divided by 10,000. 500,000 divided by 1,000. It gives us something. 500,000 divided by. How do you get that something? Divide by 100. Okay. So we've got what? $500,000. We got 100 custom, 100, not 100 customers, but 100 items in our sample. Use our sampling interval of 5,000. We determine our sample size is 100. Our client balance is what? 500,000. We divide the 500,000 by the 100 items in our sample. That gives us a sampling interval of 5,000. Okay? Okay, good. So once we have that sampling interval, then we go ahead and we select the items that we want to sample. Now in this example, the account balance is $2,500,000. We had a sample size of 93. We determined that sample size using those different factors that we just considered. We put that into the software. It tells us what our sample size is, right? So we take that and we divide it by the account balance, and we come up with a sampling interval of 26,082. Now, you cannot start on the interval, because if you do, you have what? You have a non-random sample. The sample has to be random, doesn't it? So we'll come up with a random number from the random number generator. We'll put a number between 1 and 500,000, and the random number generator will spit back to us what? 3,977. Okay? And then we go ahead and we start our selection sample. Okay? So this first one does not have our $3,977 because it's only $2,350, right? We go to the next one and it's $15,495. We add that to the 2350. That brings us to $17,845. So somewhere in this admission at Bloomington Hospital, we found our $3,977, right? Now we're on our interval. So we take our interval, we add it to our random start, so now we're looking for the $30,859. We add in that 945, no. We add in the 21, brings us up to 40. So somewhere in the middle of that 21 is my $30,859, right? See how we're doing this? Then we add in the sampling interval. The next dollar we're looking for is the $57,741. So we go ahead and we add in the next item, the 3968. No, we add in the what, 32,549. That brings us to 77,2. So we found our 57,741. Just like when we went around the table, right? Same logic, except this time we had a random start. Okay. Can you see why you need computer software to do this? Can you imagine if you had a client that had, $10 million in sales and you try to do this by hand? You'd go insane, wouldn't you? First, okay? The what? The software is beautiful. You put in the parameter, it figures out the sample size, it figures out the sampling interval, and then it goes through and flags the items for you that fall within that interval. Spits out, in some cases, you can even get it to spit out the confirmation letters. There we go. Okay? Okay, good. Any question on this? So we send out the confirmations, okay, and we get the responses back. Now, this is where it starts to get a little bit funky for us because often you don't get back the confirmation. You have to ask again, and again, and again. And then you call them and you call them and you say, oh, can you please send? And you say, okay. Then you don't hear from them again. And you send them an email and you don't hear from them again. And now you got to sit there and handhold them to get them. Etc. Costly use of auto resources, right? Okay? But if we have what? If we have a high risk of concealment statement, sorry, got to lower the detection risk. Your substantive procedures are going to have to go up. This audit is now becoming more toxic to you, right? That's why you prefer to be able to assess a lower risk of material misstatement, have good controls. Now you can maybe use what? Smaller sample sizes, use a little more internal evidence. Maybe we're filling up our substantive bar with a little more analytical procedure, etc., right? That's why when we say, well, you could go directly to substantive testing to determine it would be more efficient to do that, that's why I was saying that's not very likely. Because when you start having high risk of material misstatement, you start having to get in more of the testing details, and that's when you start begging people to send them information and calling them up and getting on the phone with them and maybe even making a trip over there to help them find the information, etc. Right? Okay? Okay, good. So, in this example, they go ahead, they have their tolerable misstatement, a sample size, our confidence level, expected amount of misstatement, our sampling interval, those are factors. Okay? And we go ahead and we have to start applying a misstatement factor. Now you look at this and you say, well, John, why on earth would we have a misstatement factor if we found no errors? Because this is a sample. And there's always a chance that a sample will not be representative of the population. So we do what? We put a sample cushion around that. Don't we put precision around that? Now I know that precision is plus or minus, okay? And we're worried about what? The plus side, how much the misstatement be. Look, the misstatement can't be less than 0. The misstatement can some of either 1 or whatever. And so when we use this misstatement factor, notice we apply this misstatement factor of 3 to the sampling interval. So we're saying that there could be a misstatement. Even if we find no errors, there could be a misstatement of here as much as 80,464. Now, if you're in a situation where you do that, and that is more than your tolerable misstatement, you're done. You're done with that test. There's a tolerable misstatement. There should be some sort of correction that you're looking for there. But that, to me, means you can sign this and have probability sample. And if this comes out this way, I don't know what you were doing. With no errors, and you still have a material misstatement, I don't even know why you sent those numbers. So this shouldn't happen. Okay? Now, you start coming up with errors, and when you do, you have to figure out, well, what is the incremental increase in my upper misstatement limit as a result of this incremental increase? Okay? So you take a look, and we sit here, and now we send out the confirmations, and we have a difference here between the book value and the audit value of 3,284. We take the 3,284, the amount of misstatement that we calculated. That's the difference between the confirmation amount and the amount that we saw recorded in the books, and that gives us a 15% tainting. So we calculate the tainting factor for every one of these. Now notice that for this AXA Corporation, whatever it was, notice we do not calculate a tainting factor here. Very important, guys. You do not calculate a tainting factor when the item is bigger than the interval. If the item is bigger than the interval, step away from calculation of the tainting factor. Okay? Now you say, well, why not? Why don't we come up with the tainting factor? Well, let's go ahead and let's play with that. So we've got what? We've got a $2,500 error here. Misstatement. I don't know if it's an error. Error is unintentional. Misstatements, you could have intentional misstatements, which would make it fraud. I don't know what caused this misstatement, so I shouldn't call it an error. I should call it a misstatement, right? Okay, misstatements can be intentional and unintentional, right? Unintentional is an error. Intentional is fraud, isn't it? Okay. So 2,500, and I divide that by the book value of 32,549. Now don't do this. This is wrong. I'm just showing you what happens. What happens when the freeway sign says "Do not enter" and you enter? What happens? Bad things happen, right? So I'm just showing you. This is what happens if you go into where it says "Do not enter." Okay, so do not do this. I'm just telling you, don't do this. I'm just showing you what's going to happen to you if you do this. So don't do this. Okay, what's the percentage here? What's the tainting factor? 2,500 divided by 32,549. %, give or take. It doesn't have to be exact. 0.07. Okay, good. Now, I take that 0.07 and I apply it to the sampling interval. Sampling interval is how much?
How much is my sampling interval? 3877. Say it again. 26,000. Okay, I'll just look it up myself. Okay, so sampling interval was 26882. Thank you. Okay, 26882. So what happens if you apply 7% to 26882? What number do you get? Huh? Okay, guys, we're getting ready to enter the accounting profession, and there are certain ways that we express numbers. Okay, so if it's $182, $1,882. Okay, thank you. So what happens? When we say 1,882, we're telling you that the projected error is what? 1882 is the projection for that particular item. Meanwhile, we know the error is 2,500. We know there's a $2,500 error in there. How can we possibly say that the error in that interval is 1882 when we know the error for that item that's representing that interval is what? It's 2,500, don't we? So you can't do the tainting when we're talking about an item that is bigger than the interval. Start coming up with bizarre results like that, right? So don't calculate a tainting percentage for an item that is as big, bigger than an interval. It is bigger than an interval. What was our sampling interval here? Again, 26. This one was what? The book value was 32. Don't do the tainting, because you come up with weird results like that. Okay? Okay, good. Now, what is this? Why would those go forward to the next slide? Okay. Oh, I see, because I guess it's the same slide, making the same point. Do not apply the tainting to that particular item. Okay? Okay, good. Now you come over, and now what? Now we go ahead and we have our sampling interval, and we're going to apply the tainting percentage to the ones that were not bigger than an interval. So that one was 100% error because we used 1 as the tainting factor for the first item for the interval, and then we go ahead and for that first one we have that upper limit of 80,404. That's that first one right here. For the next one we had what? We had an error, so our tainting, not our tainting, but our upper limit went to 1.7. So we go ahead and we take the 1.7 onto the projected misstatement, and that one had a tainting factor of 1 because we determined that there was a misstatement here of, where's that one coming from? What is that, for learn? We put them in a different order from the one slide to the next. That's why that's a little confusing. So learn was what? Learn was 100% error. That's why the tainting factor was 1 there. Okay, so we put learn up here. I guess we put it in order it came from. And so we went ahead and put that 26,882. We have the what? We have the incremental increase that we come up with based on this table at the 95% confidence level. That was the 1.7. We apply that to our projected misstatement, and we now have 45,000. So 26,882 times the 1.7. Then we go ahead and for the Marva Medical, we use the what? 0.4 was our next largest changing, 0.4, and we come up with the incremental increase in for our upper precision limit, our upper misstatement limit at 1.5. That's the difference between from this table over here. Okay, that's at 1.5. We applied that to the 10,753. We have an upper limit of 16,130. Then we go ahead and we do the good hospital. That was the 0.15 changing. We apply that to the interval. That gives us our projected statement. We apply the incremental amount to that. That gives us our upper limit for that item. Okay. Again, for items that were bigger than the interval, the AXA, we just bring the 2,500 over, don't we? We do not apply the changing factor. We do not calculate that upper limit like that. We just bring whatever the error was over to the projected upper statement. Question? Okay, so we add all those up, and we determine that the projected misstatement, the upper misstatement, projected upper misstatement is 150,621. Now, if we have a what? If we have a tolerable misstatement of 125,000, is this account balance material misstatement? And the answer is yes, it is. So what will we do? I would say our first reaction to that is going to be to increase the sample size. Send out some more confirmation to see if you're getting back more information about what the nature of the problem is. Because if you just walk in and say, hey manager, we want an adjustment for this, and you say, well, what went wrong? What happened? So we want plenty of evidence to be able to support why we're asking for an adjustment. And then we would ask for an adjustment for those items that we know are clearly wrong based on the sampling that we ask them to fix those. But we still may need to do what? Ask for further adjustment up or down every time to the public. Ask for a downward adjustment until we get below that tolerable mistake. Okay? Question? Okay. Now, I am not going to hold you accountable, don't worry, to sitting there and taking the incremental and applying the incremental to the changing, calculating thing. I could care less. Okay? What I want you to understand is the process, right? Because we're going to be using software to do all these things in actually practice, and so you don't need to sit there and see and do a table of calculations. But understand that we would do what? We have those different factors affecting our sample size. Those would be what? Determine a sampling interval and figure out the error in that interval, and then we would do what? Use that to project an upper error limit. Upper error limit is what? More than my tolerable misstatement. I'm going to have to react to that, right? Or, if management refuses to make the adjustment, then what? Well, then I'm probably giving them some sort of modified opinion, right? Depending on the materiality, I could be giving them a qualified opinion. Qualified opinion, we probably got opinions on the final, would come out and say, in our continuing opinion, the financial statements are fairly stated, except the accounts receivable balance was misstated by, whatever this is, $25,621. Based on this, we have determined it was a misstatement in the account receivable. Now investors know, right? But we believe there's a problem. Fix it. If it's really bad, if it was $25 million, maybe we're giving an adverse opinion, right? The magnitude of this mistake. Okay, good. An auditor is preparing a sample, in entities, customers receivable for overstatement. A statistical sample method that automatically provides stratification is dollar unit sampling, monetary unit sampling, probability proportionate to size. Monetary unit sampling is said to eliminate the need to stratify the sample because what? Sample items are selected in proportion to their dollar amount, right? And we went around the table and did that one. You can answer that question right after that. For monetary unit sampling, a sample interval of 400 means that every $400. Of course, this question's a little bit weird because we have a random dollar start, don't we? So it's after the random start, every $400 selected is probably a better answer, right? Okay, good. If you have negative items, consider yourself the luckiest auditor in the world. It so happens that what? Overstatements and understatements can cancel each other out. It can happen. So even though you may have errors in there, what? Positive errors and negative errors can cancel each other out. However, I would be very careful with that because it means that something's wrong with your client's internal control. So I would back myself up from the wreckage, even if I don't have a tolerable misstatement or, an upper misstatement level that's exceeding my tolerable misstatement. But I've got a situation where my client did make some errors, or I had a lot of errors and they cancel each other out. I'm working my way up from the wreckage to try to understand what's wrong with the controls. Because we want to get that fixed so that we can what? Lower our control risk going forward in another year, lower our expected misstatements going forward in later years, and have a more efficient audit plan, right? In statistical or non-statistical sample methods used in substantive testing, an auditor most likely would stratify a population into meaningful groups if we have what? Both very high and very low amounts. So again, before you do, you wouldn't have to do this actually for a dollar unit sampling, but if you have large dollar amounts, you would stratify by carving off those large dollars. But you don't really need to do this for dollar unit sampling because it's going to automatically do that for you, right? Classical variables can be used if you have too many negatives, too many zeros. Then you're going to go ahead and use classical variables. Okay, if you just determine that you can't use monetary unit sampling. Most populations will lend themselves to dollar unit sampling, monetary unit sampling. Okay. Disadvantage of classical variable, it's a pain because you're going to have to start calculating standard deviations, etc., coming up with a range of misstatements, comparing the recorded amounts to that range of misstatements, etc., and that can get a little messy. Much harder to use. Which of the following would be used to estimate a numeric measurement of a population, such as a dollar value? That's going to be variable sampling. Okay, random sampling, numeric sampling, attribute, I don't know. These two are nonsense. You know, like I told you, sometimes your questions are talking about the wrong auditor. What would be not? Alright, so random sampling is not a sampling method. It's what we do. We use random sampling. Right? We use random numbers. Attribute is for what? Control. And then for substantive testing, yes, you could use that. Which of the following would most likely be an advantage in using classical variable sampling if we have what? zero or negative balances and those become significant, then what? Then it gets very hard for us to use dollar unit snapping, and we might have to turn those classes. Okay? Okay, good. Question? All right, guys. So let's go ahead. I think there was a few more almost quiz questions at the end of the video. Maybe we'll do look at those on our own. Because I think that that'd be some fun to make a couple questions in the so let's go ahead and let's take a quick break. What is it? 8 o'clock. So let's go ahead 8:05. Let's go ahead and do let's do 8:15. Okay, we'll come back and we'll pick up with chapter 7, revenue recognition, and we'll do a quick review of those chapter 3 computer assisted audit techniques, and we'll be able to get out of here. Okay. Green would be like a Raider if he was. I could see him being on the Raiders. Okay, guys, let's go ahead and let's jump into chapter 7 so we can quickly look at the things from chapter 3 and go ahead and we'll look at our quiz for chapter 7 and then homework for chapter 7. Okay? All right, so chapter 7, auditing revenue. So now what we're going to do is spend the next couple of classes dealing with the income statement, revenue. We'll do expenses, which will really kind of also include acquisition of fixed assets, same ballpark, okay? And then after that, we're really going to turn our attention to that auditing balance sheet accounts, okay? Now, having said that, in this chapter, well, let me back up. We've already talked about auditing cash, right? So that was a balance sheet account. And so there were some slides in this chapter that I deleted because they were talking about cash again. Because there is a connection between revenue and collecting cash, but we already talked about the auditing cash. So they started repeating themselves. So I got rid of some of those slides about cash. And then starting with our, after we come back to the midterm, we're simply going to march through the balance sheet, dealing with inventory, dealing with fixed assets, dealing with liabilities, stockholders' equity, etc., and then we'll turn our attention to reports. Okay, but up to the next couple chapters, we're really focusing on the income statement. Okay, so let's just go ahead and let's take a look at fraud risk related to revenue. And my first question here to you is, why are they talking about fraud risk as it relates to revenue? They want to overstate revenue. Very good. Very good. Also, which account do you read about where there was fraud? Did you ever read about, oh, they had fraud in the office supply account. People were stealing pens, right? I mean, nobody cares, right? It's what? It's revenue where the big fraud schemes have ended up coming around, right? And Michael, you're absolutely right. It's an overstatement of revenue that we'll read about, not an understatement. Okay, so we look at some of these things. Side agreements, what happens there? Hey, buy all this stuff at the end of the year, and don't worry, you can always return it for a refund. Is that a revenue? No, because what? The risk of loss has not been passed on to the purchaser, so that doesn't even qualify as a sale, right? Okay. How about channel stuffing? What is that? Channel stuffing is encouraging your customer to buy more stuff than they needed at this current time. So what happens? You get these nice big sales, now your customer has all this stuff that they bought from you, and it's looking like what? Going forward in the future, you're not going to continue to have this level of sales, or there's a high probability of return. Related party transactions. Related party transactions, when Company A and Company B sell stuff to each other. When we consolidate Company A and Company B, what should we do with those intercompany sales? Eliminate them. Eliminate them. So if there's related party transactions, those should be eliminated in consolidated statements, shouldn't they? Okay. Bill and hold sales. What happens? I bill you for something that I am still having what? Having possession of. I still haven't met all the criteria for the sale because risk of loss is not transferred to me. I can maybe turn around and sell that item to another customer because it's not unique. We haven't met the revenue recognition criteria, right? Okay, now I'm not receiving revenue recognition criteria or assuming that's an intermediate accounting, right? So my question here is, what assertion are these fraud schemes centering themselves on? No. Try again. Keep going. Try again. Huh? Existence. These guys are around the existence assertion. Look, if we're sitting there and we haven't met the definition of a sale because we got related party transactions and that should have been eliminated, that sale should not be included in the financial statements, right? Okay? And the only reason I'm pointing that out is what? You would sit there and you would do what? Lower your detection risk around the existence assertion through your what? Nature, extent, and timing of your audit procedure. Nature, you're probably going to want to use external evidence for your sales instead of internal evidence. Extent, we talked about sampling larger sample sizes, right? Timing, what? Timing, we're probably going to do year-end testing instead of year-end testing. Okay? Everything comes back to the assertion. Okay? Now, the cash sale versus the credit sale, obviously credit sale has a longer cycle, doesn't it? Okay, because you got to wait for the collection. So we're going to be considering credit sales here, and we're going to be considering the relationship between sales and accounts receivable. So if you get evidence that supports account receivable, you are also getting evidence that supports what? The amount of sales, aren't you? You get evidence that supports the credit, that supports the sale, assuming it's a credit sale, you get evidence that supports what? The account receivable. So you'll see that these two accounts are highly related. I don't know if these real walking dollars are. By the way, guys, don't worry. I probably should have fixed this. It's chapter 8, right? Remember, seven. Okay, now, 3 types of transactions are typically processed through revenue: sale of goods for cash, the receipt of cash, and what? The potential return of goods if the customer decides to return the goods, right? Okay? Okay, good. Type of transactions, sales transactions could affect receivable, could affect the sales. We're going to, if it's a credit sale, then we're going to have to come up with an allowance for our uncollectible receivables. When we come up with the allowance for uncollectible receivable, we will have a bad debt expense associated with it, right? What's the journal entry for our estimate of our bad debt? We have sales of $1 million. We determined that 1% of that, based on past experience, will go bad. 1%, here I go again. 10,000, right? 1% of it. What would be the journal entry? Good. Debit, bad debt, expense for 10,000. Credit the allowance, right? Good. So when we report our accounts receivable on the balance sheet, how would we report that? Yeah. So we have the $1 million account receivable less the allowance. Good. Gives, huh? Huh? Yeah, minus 10,000. What? Okay, gives me. I see. You just wanted to show me. No. Gives me the net, not the net allowance, the net what? Accounts receivable of no, I was making numbers hard on myself. 990,000. Is that right? Okay. So when we're dealing with the allowance, what assertion are we interested in? Completeness. I'm subtracting an amount from the anything if I mistake. Completeness. And the allowance is all about making the amount less. Right? Am I? This is a valuation assertion, is it? Okay. Okay, good. Cash receipts, transactions, cash, accounts receivable, discounts, sales returns and allowances, sales returns, the sales allowance account. It's going to be one big account. Receivables, right? Because when we use our receivable if there's a return. Okay? Okay, good. We come over and credit approval form. Okay? Now, this is a internal control in which we're sitting there, and this is a weird creature, in which we're saying, why does it have to have legs? Why can't it just be a thumb? In which we're saying that the person, what? Has good credit, right? Okay, why do we care? Why do we care if our client has set up internal controls where they check the credit of somebody before they let them take the sale on account? The client's customer is more likely to pay, meaning that what? There shouldn't be a whole lot that's needed in that allowance. That number should be around 1%, right? If they don't have that good control, then what? Then maybe I have to put 20% of that account balance into the allowance. Now I've got to use up audit resources to what? Make sure I'm satisfied with a larger dollar balance. Whereas here, if it's only 10,000 off of $1 million, maybe I just apply an analytical procedure. I'm not what? I'm using up more analytical procedure for my substantive testing for the valuation assertion than I am for tested details. And I can turn my resources elsewhere to the audit and reach more risk, right? So I'd be very interested in this control because it helps me with the valuation assertion. So I can look at the customer order to see if what? To see if there is the appropriate stamp of approval, this thumb with legs, whatever. Okay? Now, I will also be wanting to take a look at open order reports to see if something has not been processed. How come? Maybe there was a sale and they just haven't recorded it. That's going to be more with your completeness. I can use shipping documents, okay? Bill of lading. Do not freak out over the term bill of lading. Sometimes people go, what the heck is that? It's a packing slip. It's a document that lists all the items that were in that order. Okay, I'm just going through the documents that are going to support sales invoice, and we have the sales journal. Okay. We also have the customer statement and the accounts receivable subsidiary ledger. Trial balance, age trial balance is going to show us what? How delinquent our clients' customers' amounts are. Okay, I'm sure you're familiar with an aging schedule. The more delinquent they are, the more we'll put into the allowance. Okay? Okay, good. Cash receipts journal, credit memorandum, credit memorandum. Okay, now, credit memorandum is something, credit memo is something that is issued when the client, customer returns the goods, right? Okay, so why do they call it a credit memorandum? Well, they're saying we're going to credit your account receivable, right? To credit the account receivable, they're going to debit what? Sales returns? Okay? Now what happens if you don't get good control over those credit memos? Let's say you let your cash receipts clerk get a hold of it and issue credit memos to approve those. What's going to happen? Yeah, they'll sit there and they'll do what? They'll debit the sales return, whatever. They'll credit the account receivable, the subsidiary ledger, etc. So now the company's not expecting any tax on that customer because presumably they've done what? They've returned that good, haven't they? Okay? And so what happens? You sit there and then the customer actually pays the bill because they kept the stuff, didn't they? And if they pay the bill, or we've already credited the account receivable, that money's going in the pocket of the cash receipts clerk, right? Okay? So to avoid that, we have to have those credit memos approved by what? Somebody who does not have responsibility for collecting tax. Absolutely, right? So let's say you have a client, a small client, and then combine those functions. They're letting someone issue credit memo. They just got weak control. They don't know what they're doing. Whatever. They're letting people issue credit memos who also have custody of cash. What would you do? Beautiful, thank you. That's not, I was going past that, but absolutely. The correct thought process is assess, control risk at the maximum, right? Okay, good. Then what are you going to do? Lower my detection risk. Oh, nature, extended timing of my procedures need to what? Nature, I need to use what? More effective, like external evidence instead of internal evidence. Extent and timing. Okay, good. Simply meaning now the nature. Okay. I'm going to send confirmation out to my client's customer now, and what's going to happen? The balance is going to be showing you owe, wait a minute. If I send confirmation, the client's balance is going to say you owe $10,000, and they're going to say, yes, I owe $10,000 because we wrote off the account receivable. They think they paid it. Meanwhile, actually, the cash was in the pocket, but the balance would be correctly stated in the account receivable, wouldn't it? Just that the cash got stolen? Confirmation, I see why you're saying that. Okay, so extent, even larger sample size than confirmation. Year-end versus interim. If we sold that money any time, if they have that control levers, right? Sorry, you're going to have to think some more. How would the article? let's see, journal entry. Debit, sales return, credit, account receivable, right? Now we know confirmation is going to help us with credit account receivable, but if you debit, sales return, credit account receivable, what else does it do? In the return. Account. Credit. Beautiful. What are you going to do to them? You say you do them, or are you going to put them in the smart? Hey man, let's do some inventory. What are you going to do for it? Beautiful. Debit the inventory, credit the cost of goods sold. Excellent. When you debit the inventory account balance should do what? It should increase. So when you count the inventory, are those items really going to be there? No, because the client's customer kept them, didn't they? So if you would sit there and you would do a careful count of the inventory, and you would expect to see what? If there's this problem with this fraud that we're thinking maybe there is because of this internal control weakness, we would see higher levels of inventory than what the records are indicating, right? Right? Excuse me. We would see what? Lower levels of inventory than what the records are indicating, right? Okay, so you could probably catch it that way by counting the inventory, comparing that to the inventory records you're saying, right? That's it. But you got to come up with a different procedure, right? And maybe you're going to count many more items now beginning to date for this time of year. So instead, you're probably going to get larger sample size for your test counts in your inventory, timing, you want to do that stuff. Okay, good. So you would expect there to be separation there. If there isn't, you're going to have to audit your way around that. Okay. Now, these other documents that got listed here, the sales invoice, the sales journal, the shipping documents, that goes back to, I think, our first class when we talked about what? Directional testing. Okay. And we talked about going what? From the sales journal to the supporting documentation being the customer order, being the shipping documents, etc., the invoice. Okay. If I go from the sales journal to those supporting documents, the shipping document, the customer order, the invoice, what assertion is that? Good, that's existence, right? If I go the other way from the supporting documents that you see listed here, back to the financial statement, that is, back to the sales journal, that is what? That's the completion. Good. Okay, so this is how you would start to use some of these documents in the audit of the, and we're going to get to the accounts receivable here when we talk about confirmation, but in auditing the sales account. Okay, good. Write-off. Write-off of account receivable needs to be authorized to the treasurer. Again, problem. We let our clerks write off the account receivable. We debit the, what's the journal entry for the write-off? So we set up the allowance, didn't we? And now, supposedly our customer comes to us and says, what's the matter, customer? I can't pay you. Why? I pay all my money on the Warriors and they lost. And whatever. The client's customer can't pay. So what's going to happen? Huh? Good. Debit the allowance. Credit the account receivable. Good. Excellent. Now, if they credit the account receivable with whom? Pam, are we expecting any more money from them? So would it be a problem if we let our cash receipts clerk authorize this write-off? Our cash receipts clerk write this, our cash receipts clerk write this off, would there be a problem? Yeah, because then when the customers pay, they're gonna say, thank you, $1,000, put it in the pocket because the company's not expecting any money, right? So we want that write-off process to be approved at a high level of the organization. The treasurer should be the one that authorizes the write-off, right? Okay? Okay, good. Coming over. Who's this? Is that the treasurer? Okay, you come over and you take a look at functions in the revenue process. We have what? We have the order. We have a credit authorization. We have shipping. We have billing. We have cash receipts. We have accounts receivable. We have our general ledger. Now I'm going to ask you, of these functions, which one is authorization, which will signify with an A, which one is record keeping, which one is custody. And you can give yourself a little mnemonic there, ARC. So acceptance of the customer order, is that authorization, record keeping, or custody? Good, that's authorization because that's saying, hey, I really have a legitimate customer here who's shown up and wants to order some goods, right? Okay, now, we go over and we check their credit. Is that authorization, record keeping, or custody? That's an authorization that the person has good credit, right? Now let me ask you, Stephen, would you separate the first A from the second A? They're both authorizations. Would you want to separate the authorization in relation to the customer order with the credit approval? You pick your own situation, you go to Best Buy. And they say, they're from the Best Buy. They say, would you like to open an instant account today, sir? And you say, I don't know. How much would you give me? Because I'm going to buy all kinds of stuff, and I'm going to use your money. And I love these, 2 years, no interest. Right? So I use their money for stuff that I'm going to buy anyway, right? Okay? But, does the person sitting there authorize my credit? No, they got to what? Put that into somebody else, and it goes up, I don't know, maybe God's up there, I don't know. And then you sit there, and then all of a sudden you go, oh, then you get sometimes everything like that. Good, give me 3 of those. Right? Okay. So what happens? You're laughing, but that's not how I about that. Okay, so what happens? You sit there and a separate group authorizes your credit, right? Because the salesperson is sitting there saying, I want to do a commission, right? So I want to get all the credit as I can. So you should have a good separation, right? Okay. Good. How about shipping? Authorization, record keeping, or custody? Shipping are the people who sit here and take this beautiful thing. Look at this. Do you know how hard we had to work to make this? We take it and we ship it out. That's custody, isn't it? Okay, we want to separate that from what? From our authorization, from our record keeping, because we don't want our shipping department sending out a bunch of TVs to their cousins and saying, well, this was a legitimate customer and they had credit and all that, right? Okay, good. How about billing? Not a trick question. That's record keeping. Good, because we want to make sure we bill the customer, don't we? How about cash receipts? No, cash receipts is a custody of cash. We want that person separate from what? The record keeping that goes on in accounts receivable and our general ledger, because what? Because we don't want somebody to collect the cash and then write off the receivable or whatever, right? Or pretend like it was paid and separate returns, we say, right? Okay? Now, we have a separation between the subsidiary ledger and the general ledger here. there should be a separation there where we have a GL department, a subsidiary department, and then we reconcile those two. So that the details contained in the subsidiary ledger are matching the what? The lack of detail, the totals in the return ledger, right? Okay? Okay, good. So separation of duties, separating authorization, record keeping, and custody. Okay, so we enter the order. We check the credit. If the person has good credit, we can then go ahead, place the order, ship the goods, bill the customer, right? Then we get the cash receipts, and the customer pays. We update the what? We update the subsidiary ledger. We reconcile the subsidiary ledger to the general ledger, right? Okay, so we sort of did this already. The what? The receiving the order is order entry. Approving the credit is credit. Shipping is shipping. That's what? Custody. Accounts receivable is going to include what? Preparing the invoice, updating the accounts receivable, updating accounts receivable for remittances, preparing accounts receivable age trial balance, okay? Cash receipts is going to be separate. IT, notice, has functions that go across this, and remember, we said in a computerized system, you may combine certain functions that are being done by the computer, but you do want to make sure that somebody who has the ability to release an electronic payment doesn't also have the ability to do what? Update accounting records, so you can still look for separation even in an IT environment. Okay? And then of course the treasurer is the one that does the write-off. This is a pretty good little slide here, actually. I kind of like that now that I look at it real closely. I don't know if it's worth all those stars. Okay. Inherent risk assessment, industry factors, complexity of revenue recognition can be very complex in some cases depending on the nature of the transaction. If you're auditing Uber, is Uber making is Uber's revenue the revenue that is Uber's revenue the revenue that you pay your driver? Or is Uber's revenue the money that the driver, the money to the driver that Uber keeps? Huh? So you give the driver $20. Should Uber report revenue of $20? Or should they report revenue of, say, $2? Huh? Good. Uber's revenue is $2 because what? They are not the primary obligator, right? The primary obligator is what? The driver, and they simply like an agent that arranged the whole thing. So they're supposed to report what? Revenue of $2, and cost of sales of $0, and a gross profit of $2, right? Now sometimes people say, oh, well, they thought you reported $10. But if they report the what? $10, then their cost of goods, cost of sales would be what? $8 in that case, and their gross profit is what? $2. So their gross profit is 20% as opposed to 100% gross profit. So how that gets accounted for and the advantage and the disadvantage of Uber today, in my mind, is just how they calculate the gross profit. To me, looks a little better once you get down to the gross profit number. Okay? Anyway, I don't want to turn this into a learning presentation class. I will study that. My point being that some of these, especially these days, the arrangements can get very complex, right? That adds to the inherent risk of the particular account, doesn't it? And so you're going to want to be doing some things to do what? If there are amendments going up in a complex environment, you're going to have to lower your detection risk somehow, right? Maybe you're doing what? Some recalculation of things. Remember that the auditor is what? Direct personal knowledge through a recalculation of the best evidence. Okay? difficulty of auditing transactions, misstatement detected in prior audits. That's our expected misstatement, isn't it? How would you handle that? Client has detected misstatements in prior audit. It's going to affect my expected misstatement. I'm going to have to lower my detection risk. How do I lower my detection risk? Nature, extent, timing, substantive procedure. Which one of those are you going to take? Good. Extent, because expected error is going to drive up my sample size, isn't it? Good. Okay, good. Now you have to do your control risk assessment. Remember, on every audit we have to obtain an understanding of the internal controls sufficient to evaluate the okay, yes, but before you do that, if you very dire, you forgot take a look at the design and the implementation. That determines the assessment risk material statement, right? The assessment risk material statement at the maximum, we can go directly to substantive testing. The assessment risk material statement at less than the maximum, we're going to have to do what? Test the controls, are we? Okay. And then we have to document the assessment of control risk, etc., and how we responded to that. You might do something like this. You might sit there, call out the account, call out the related account like sales, talk to about what assertion. You figure out what to go wrong with this at the assertion level. We call that potential misstatement. Based on what you see with the control technique, you make an assessment of risk material misstatement, which is a combination of my inherent risk, which is what could go wrong, the potential misstatement, and my control risk, right? And then you respond accordingly with what? Do you test the control? I assess at the maximum. I go directly to my substantive testing. I assess less than the maximum. I'm going to do some level of control testing. That determines my timing, extent, and nature of my substantive procedure, how that's affecting my detection risk. So they tell us we have to set and document control risk. There you go. And then how did you respond accordingly? You might document something like this, right? And we had this in previous slides, in previous chapter, I should say. That's previous slides. Okay. Okay, good. Now, I do it for occurrence here. We have the full set of assertions, don't we? Occurrence, completeness, authorization, accuracy, cutoff, classification. So when we're dealing with occurrence, we're worried about fictitious customers, recording revenue when goods have not been shipped. Okay, so these are the misstatements. What assertion? Remember, we're coming up with what? Potential misstatement, are we? Is that what this slide is? It's a potential misstatement, isn't it? Potential misstatement and what assertion? The way they wrote this. Yeah. This is what? This is a misstatement in the existence assertion. Is an existence occurrence assertion. Okay, so you think about the potential misstatement. Oh, the slides say? Oh. It's been occurrence here. The slide said occurrence. I was all right. What is the weird assertion you're going to do? It says occurrence. Which assertion is this one? Complete. Okay. So, for completeness, we're probably going to do what? Start with the completeness assertion is the sales occurred has not been reported, right? That's the potential misstatement. Okay, we would look for controls around that, make our assessment of this potential misstatement, respond accordingly, and we're probably doing what? We're probably going to be going a test from the supporting documentation back to the financial statements, right? Nature using external evidence might be a little tough there because most of that evidence was internal, wasn't it? just invoice, etc. So we're gonna have a little bit of trouble there, right? Because we can't be confirming accounts receivable because, whoever, if it's the sale that wasn't recorded, and maybe our client's customer, well, I guess confirmation could help a little bit there, but if something was never recorded, how would we know who to send the confirmation to? If they don't record the sale, the potential is that the person's never recorded in there. They don't record the sale. I saw something like I sell something to Stephen, and I never write it down. How is a confirmation going to ever occur? There is no sale in the sales journal in the accounts receivable subsidiary ledger for me to send out a confirmation to. The confirmation ledger. So now what? So now I'm kind of, this is the external evidence. So I'm kind of stuck with what? Internal evidence now, right? Because external evidence is probably not going to exist there to help me provide a start from the supporting document. So I'm going to start with the supporting documents to go to the internal, right? So what are you going to do? How are you going to load that projection? Okay, you're looking at the documents, whatever they are, invoices, different documents. And I'm going to go back to the financial statement. We've got the direction, right? Now we're talking about nature of things timing. Nature, I'm saying we're stuck with internal evidence, right? And how are we going to do that? I just crossed out nature. Extent, okay, maybe I'm doing what? Maybe I'm doing some larger sample sizes, right? Okay, good. How about timing? Good. Now, we talk about cutoff when we're talking about the AICPA assertions. The PBAOC rolls what? Public company. Public company. Public company kind of rolls that board. By the way, you know they hire in the Bay Area, right? PBAOC. You don't do that. I really will take a look. But you have offices in the Bay Area. Anyway, what happens? It's not that good once you get it. Because now you're sitting there and you're looking for a quasi-government organization which has all the federal benefits, and you're coming in back behind auditors like some of those firms that didn't hire you. You know, and you're looking to see if to get revenge. Because you're learning a lot about auditing, I'm serious. You're really on a higher level, higher plane. So PCAOB doesn't call out completeness and occurrence as assertion. Doesn't call out cutoff as an assertion because they say, hey, we'll cover that through what? Through the completeness assertion, right? And if it's still, you're probably going to be looking at transactions near year end, aren't you? So now we're at year end. So now it's more of a timing issue. So what are you going to do at year end? Cut off what? You know, just like today? What do you mean? You never heard that? You never heard this thing? Don't cut off your nose to spite your face. You can cut off your nose to spite your face. You don't need that kind of stuff. When you say cut off, what do you mean cut off? Like the pants you're going to wear on the 4th of July? Cut off? Okay, good. Look at some transactions near the what? Near the end of the year. to sit there and see the things that were shipped, say, December 31st, the shipping terms were free on board shipping points, and yes, that is a sale, right? If they were free on board what? Destination, then those things should be what? Should be excluded, shouldn't they? So you're getting both an existence and a completeness. If there's something that was shipped December 31st free on board shipping point, and they didn't include it as a sale, then you're going to want to have included it, right? Which you could say, well, John, that's completeness. Okay, yes, it is. But AICPA calls it out as what? Cutoff, right? Okay, good. What else? Huh? Outstanding debt? So you're telling me that if the client's customer hasn't paid them by year end, that it's not a sale? Are you telling me that the customer and the client's customer has to pay them in order for it to be a sale? What did you say? Are you saying you can only take a sale if you collect it back? Okay, hang on. I don't think we're by the way, we're interested in ascending also to do that one student. Okay, so what happens? I have a sale, and I have a sale at 12:31. At 12:31, I debit accounts receivable. I credit sale. Is that a correct journal entry? Okay. Then they pay me on June 30th because I went to Best Buy and they gave me those 6 months. No interest, I don't have to make any payments. So, say January, so on June 30th, that's 2020. Okay. They get paid. Every cash goes to the receipt. Right? I'm sorry, come in and Jerry, you're going to do a test on 1/15. See if Patrick And why are you asking me for the date?
No, I just realized, I just understood, I was like, that's the pattern. I think this is under the
Right, now, if it's cash sales, then I agree that potentially your procedure is a pretty good one, right? You know, well, was there deposits that match what they said sales were, right? If you're having a high volume, you know, like, I don't know, there's this hamburger place that I go to, and they only take cash. And somebody said to me, well, how would you audit this thing? They're sitting there eating hamburgers and doing stuff. And my brother said, how would you audit this cash business? Really? What has to stop is when you I get to see what the deliveries of the beef were. How do you generate all this? Supposedly you don't have any revenue because I've been looking for understatement of revenue. Probably trying to cost the tax on corporate revenue. How did you say you only generated $500 of revenue? Meanwhile, you received 10 million pounds of beef. Okay. So there are ways that you would be, and you might be interested in the cash collection revenue and business like that, right? But we typically assume, a delay between the receipt of cash, right, because often in business in terms of income, and stuff like that. Now, if you got time to do a subsequent cash collection, that could help you, but that's going to help you. What I would say is you really automate accounts receivable at that time. And if you're automating accounts receivable, you're doing subsequent cash collection. That's probably because they're paid soon enough that you didn't have to confirm the account receivable. That becomes an alternative procedure to your account receivable. You could look at cash collection at that point, auditing account receivable, the debit, just auditing the credit to the auditing the credit using the sales, right? That's it. So I see where you're going with that debit, credit. Okay,
But what was the question?
well, I'll start thinking about hamburgers. So, Just where I'm going. That's the idea of picking my dad complains to my brother how crazy I get. And so his brother is like a nervous call to me. Hey, this guy, this people, what are you going to do? Meanwhile, I'm bringing my dad's freaking stick. Timing, thank you. Is there any other timing cutoff type procedure that we do under the completeness efficiency? We're looking for year-end information, are we? Bank transfer schedule. Explain why that's not right. See, there's a hamburger. Okay. I don't think bank transfer schedule will help us too much. Okay, sounds good though. You'll scare the hell out of the client. Let me see the bank transfer schedule. Oh, we prepared it. But you can still say to me that he's going to prepare a bank transfer schedule. Just confess the fraud. Okay. All right. So what happens? I'm thinking we're going to look at sequence of invoices. Okay. Numbering. So we look at 300. We see 303 as the next one that gets entered as a sale. Is there a problem here? Where's 302, 301? Where are they? Oh, yeah. We forgot to record those. Completeness assertion by looking at key numbering. We're probably doing that again. Timing year end, right? Okay, so these are good cutoff procedures that you probably be doing around the completeness. Okay, and so they're talking about matching these different things, maintaining and reviewing open order file. Maybe those things actually got filled now. But again, my point being that these type of things are being done near year end, aren't they? Okay, because we can't really rely on external evidence. Extent sampling for confirmation. Probably we're maybe doing these procedures for more items or something, but it's definitely more of a timing thing here than it is a nature or extent thing. Okay, good. Authorization of revenue transactions. Shipping goods to customers that are bad credit risk. That's our credit authorization. Charging the right amount. right? When I was a kid, I don't know how this guy did this. He knew people all over town that we would go to places, and I didn't know what was going on. I'd be sitting there, okay, we're going to order something, we're going to order some food, and all of a sudden, I'd be ready to pay, and the cash register would come up with zero. I'd say, thank you, fine, what do you pay? You know, that's his system. I don't know what he was doing, how he was getting away all over town from this stuff. He would say, oh, come over here, I know this guy, he knows that. And so we'd want to make sure that what? We don't have somebody in the back room that's shipping this stuff to, maybe you go to Best Buy, I'll go to Macy's, I send you a nice silver and black shirt, you send me a TV, right? So we want to make sure that the correct price is that price, right? Okay, good. Again, cutoff. I think I've talked about some of the procedures around cutoff, so here we're calling cutoff out explicitly as opposed to rolling it into completeness the way the PCAOB does. Okay. Okay, good. Sales returns and allowances. There should be what? A credit memo that is controlled for a return. And again, we talked about how to audit that, which is to do what? Count the inventory and compare it to the actual physical records. And if there's what? There's more inventory than the records are saying, then stuff probably got what? Returned and they didn't record the return, right? Okay, related accounts. Accounts receivable, sales, bad debt, allowance, returns, the actual cash that gets collected. All of these can be counted simultaneously. Inventory can also work its way in here, right? As we've talked about a couple times here. Cost of goods sold could be another one you could put up here. Okay? So, we could use substantive analytical procedures. Remember, when we draw that rectangle of substantive procedures, we had what? We had some substantive procedures and some tested details, right? So for the accounts receivable, we could do some analytical procedures, but we're always going to probably use tested details and things like a confirmation. Okay? But they list some examples of analytical procedures over accounts receivable, ratios, receivable turnover, aging categories, bad debt expense as a percent of revenue, how that's changing year over year. I'm still trying to work to see if I can get one of the CPA firms to come in and teach us about data analytics. Companies are doing more and more of this kind of analysis now in audit. I'm still trying to get somebody to come in and talk to us about this. I got a little bit of a nibble today from PwC. I talked to BPM about potentially getting somebody in, so I'm going to continue to see if I can get somebody. Looks like Moss Adams. The recruiting person told me no, but I'm going to go directly to one of my buddies, one of my former students who audit over there. I'm going to get somebody in there. I got to do that pretty quick. I don't know. But that's going to be it. I usually deal with it'd be really cool if we get to see it. Okay, but I'm still working. You've seen the aging. The more delinquent, the more we put into the allowance. So we would look to see this aging schedule. But we aren't going to just take the numbers off this aging schedule. We're probably going to do what? Do some recalculation of our own to see if that seems reasonable. Maybe we're looking at how amounts of migrate year to year. Okay, and the bigger the entity, the more sophisticated the entity, the more years of data they should have, the more our ability to manipulate big data through analytical procedures, the more. Maybe that's the problem. Use good analytics to help you with Okay, completeness, again, taking from the what? From the supporting documents back to the financial statements. I assume maybe going back to the financial statements today. Okay, existence, assertion, again, going the other way. Valuation. Okay, this is the one that I'm interested in because we're talking about the allowance, right? Okay. So we go ahead, well, not yet. We go ahead, so really, these are the essentials. Existence, completeness, existence, valuation. Okay. Now, confirmation. And with confirmation, we're looking at what? The existence, assertion, okay? They should be what? Controlled by the auditor. Do not let a client say, we'll mail those confirmations for you, no problem. They are controlled by the auditor. Sent by the auditor, they are received back to the auditor's office, right? On whose letterhead? Whose letterhead? Probably the client's letterhead asking for that confirmation. They don't know you. They're going to think, who's this Michael CPA? Oh, that. Right? But if it's on the client's letterhead, then what? Then might be more likely to respond, but you send it back to you, right? You control it. You mail it, it comes back to you. Okay? Now, it is okay to omit confirmation. Because the confirmation is something that we should do around the existence assertion, but you can omit it if accounts receivable is not material. Well, look, if something's not material, then it's simply not an audit. External confirmation would be ineffective. I'm not sure why. The risk of material misstatement is low, and we have what? Other substantive procedures, for example, analytical procedure that we can use. Okay, we're satisfied with that. We give sufficient evidence. That's getting to what? Nature. You don't need the external evidence. Okay. Now, when we do confirmation, other planned substantive procedures. Let me ask you. Let's say the client asks us to not confirm the confirmation. The client asks us to not confirm the confirmation. The client asks us to not confirm the confirmation. And you say, well, why not? And they say, because last year, when we confirmed the accounts receivable, you scared our client. We thought we were going to go bankrupt. And you had to sit there and talk them off the ceiling for the rest of the year that everything was fine. Please don't confirm the accounts receivable. Can you oblige them? Huh? Okay. You want to oblige them so that their customers aren't worried they're going out of business?
There's another.
Okay. Good. Good. Right? See, what a nice guy you are. You said yes, and now you have yourself in a corner. So before you say yes, you would want to have thought through. Okay, that's my alternative. Okay, we're getting. You're not just saying anything after my question, right? Good. Good for the company. You said bank statement, did you? Not receivable shows up on a bank statement? When I look at a bank statement, I see three things. I see balances, I see disbursements, I see receipts. So I go down to our bank statement. Okay, of those we know. Huh? They don't put invoices on bank statements. You're gonna look at the receipt on the bank statement and see if they collected money, aren't you? So what you can do is you can sit there and go to their tax receipts journal, and for amounts that were outstanding in the account receivable at the end of 2019, see if they collected on that in January, February. We're not going to go for the whole year because we're going to need to issue the report. But maybe January, February, we can see that they collected on a significant amount of those receivables, right? And then we can go and take those to the bank statement to show how those tied into maybe deposits and not receiving an individual account on the bank statement, but how that tied in. So now we're looking at what subsequent cash collection to help us with the receivable balance, right? And that would be perfectly acceptable as long as it gives us the good evidence we need to support the existence of certain receivable, right? Okay? Okay, good. I'm going to stop there because we're running up on time. Okay, so I'm going to stop there. So what we're going to do next time is pick it up with confirmation, the confirmation process, and we want to move it to committee confirmation. So we're going to go from there. We'll go through the confirmation process. We'll jump ourselves into the quiz, the homework, and then we'll chapter. We have records of chapter A and AC, I think, the table. Okay? Okay, guys, have a good holiday. I will see you next week. Yeah. Yeah, I'll have to do that too, yes. Yeah, so we'll go through chapter 8 and we'll also do the mock midterm. Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.